Hi everyone, welcome to this fortnightly Tools of Frontline staff session. We've got Martin who's come along today from the London Capital Credit Union to talk about their service. So I'm going to pass across to Martin and I will start sharing the slides.
This is where I hope I've sent you the right set. That looks like it. Thank you, John. So, as I say, Martin Groombridge, I had the grand title of Chief Executive Officer of London Capital Credit Union, but I was also in charge of putting the recycling out and all the other stuff that does. Relatively small organisation, but one of the country's larger community credit unions. I wanted to take this opportunity to talk to the good people here about the credit union, and particularly in light of the recent news that the old Tower Hamlets credit union that had operated in Hackney for quite some time has gone into liquidation. I know everybody had their money back within the week, but I want to make sure that people realise that the residents of Hackney and those other boroughs across East London can still access credit unions. To make sure that they have worked with us in promoting saving and dealing with debt. And I know many of you here will be aware of the issues around poverty and how poverty is impacted by levels of indebtedness. A big chunk of what the credit clues in the name, what we do as a credit union, we give loans. But the primary objective of the credit union is to help people manage their money, and particularly with savings. And on the next slide, I've got a little quote from an American author, and which I quite like to use. The budget is telling your money where to go instead of wondering where it went. And I think most of us will recognise that feeling. There's also another clever one, which I sometimes use, which was Warren Buffett, Warren Buffett says that you should spend what you've got left after you've set your savings, rather than save what you've got left to your spending, and that's quite a good one too. But the importance is about thinking about money, stopping and talking. I heard Martin Lewis of Money Saving Expert on Radio 4 last week was saying that people in Britain are more likely to talk about their sex life than they are about their money, the financial issues. And I think there's a definite truth in that. So what is a credit union? And I think to many people here, you're going to be familiar with credit unions. Some of you may well be members already. Credit unions are very different. They're all different. There are over 200, 300, I think, credit unions across the UK, large and small, and they all operate differently, but they have same shares, values and principles. So London Capital Credit Union has been a merger of various credit unions up in Barnet, in Hackney, and wherever, Islington and various places. And it's now has about 20,000 members. And the main objective, and this is something people often miss out on, if people know credit unions, they know we do cheap loans and that we help people perhaps who can't access credit in the normal ways. And whilst that's true, that's not really what the credit union's about. Its not primary objective is to encourage people to save, because whilst we give debt advice and money advice and support through financial crises, we would prefer the old adage that prevention is better than cure. And if people have savings whilst they're working, at periods when they're not working or they're struggling for money, then they have their savings to fall back on rather than paying other people to borrow money. One of the ways we do this is offering salary savings schemes. So most local authorities across North London, most NHS trusts, a number of private companies like Veolia, educational institutions all offer salary savings schemes, because we know that if people can have savings come from their salary, they're much more likely to save. And again, this is the issue about prevention rather than cure, because whilst we know that working poverty is a real issue in Hackney and many other boroughs and across the United Kingdom, really, is that the most extreme poverty is usually arising around when people are not working, or unable to work. And the whole idea is that when people are with the salary savings scheme, is that we're getting people to save, to have that financial resilience, that if some point in their life they're unable to work, or they're between jobs, or there's a financial crisis and they need to help family overseas, then that's the point about prevention rather than cure. People are reliant on their savings as opposed to being reliant on borrowing. The next bit is about the sorry, it was just back some, but just one back a moment. I'm just talking about the save alone principle. This is one that people need to understand, because this is core to what we do. Yes, we offer cheap loans to people and to anybody, actually. Well, not to anybody, but anybody who lives or works in Hackney and across London, actually, can join our credit union and apply for a loan. And the loan is based on, do we trust them and can they afford it? Yeah, so we do affordability checks. That's the crucial one. But we will not lend to somebody unless they agree to save whilst they pay off the loan. So it might be a profitable loan for us, but issuing loan, we get interest on it, but unless they agree to save, we won't lend them the money. So it's a way of, as we pay off the loan, the member is saving at the same time. So, and they can't use that savings until they finish the loan. And over 4 to 5 years, most of our members cease to be borrowers and just use their savings. Jim, I'll take the questions at the end if that's all right with you. And then on the next slide, we talked about budgeting. What we found is a lot of our members, they save up and they put a Christmas club or holiday fund, and whatever, when it's Christmas or the holiday, they take all of their savings out, and then the boiler packs up or the car packs up, or they fall behind with the rent arrears, and then they come to us for a loan. So what we're trying to do is to get people to budget for things. They know that they're going to want that Christmas is going to come along. If they've got a dog or a cat or a budgie, they know they're going to have a vet bills at some point. If they've got a car, they know it's going to need an MOT at some point. So what we're trying to do is get members to have a single payment into the credit union and budget for those things, because it prevents people borrowing money. And we know that the cost of credit is a very significant player in the impact on poverty, because a very large proportion of people's expenditure is often going on servicing the cost of debt. And credit unions are key to actually reducing those costs over time. One thing you might want to know about, was it's very difficult to get people to save. So on the next slide, it talks about a particular account you might want to know about, and I want you to do. If you're not already a member of the credit union, this is a nice little account to do it off. We get a lot of people say they can't, well, most people say they can't afford to save. However, but they'll go and buy a lottery ticket. Sometimes out of desperation, sometimes out of not being thinking very clearly. So what we do is we offer a prize saver account. So what if savings that go into the prize saver account get and again, this is the idea of getting people, particularly people on low income, because we know those are the people who are most likely to use lotteries, buy lottery tickets and get involved in gambling and so on. So the idea with this is that for every £1 you put in, whatever your balance is at the end of the month, you get one entry into a prize draw, and there are 21 prizes, 10 20s, £20, 10 £50, and then one top prize of £5,000. And it's not that we like to give away money, it is because we know that people don't save. And what we're trying to do is that people on very low income, and people in poverty say they can't afford to save because there's no point in it. You know, if you can only save a very small amount of money, what's the point? Well, here you are with a credit union. It costs nothing. If you want your savings out, you can take it out, but you get less chances of winning. So there's an incentive to leave that little bit of money there. It's also capped at £200 to stop rich people like John from putting £1 million in there and winning it every week. Yeah. On the next slide, financial planning, help and advice available from a credit union. You'll see there on the website, some of you may be members, may be familiar with this. The Your Money section of the website is absolutely key. It has a huge range of tools for people, from pension planning and advice, to mortgage advice, to debt advice, and face-to-face support services, both local and national. And it's independent of ourselves. Obviously, we could tell people how sensibly to manage your money, but in terms of advice, we use the money helper, which is central government funded and industry funded, actually, support service for residents. And there's a whole range of information there, and it's free and accessible to any member. And on the next slide, why do we do it? Well, one of it, I think it's nice that I'd like to think that myself and the other staff, there's about 24 of us all told, are very nice people, and we like to help people. But the key point is about the cooperative difference, the way we're owned. Every £1 saving is a £1 share in our cooperative. So we use the term shares and savings interchangeably to reinforce the message that we're a business that's owned by its customers, and the customers can actually remove the management. Right? So if I was to do something like, which would benefit myself in the sense we work from a community centre in Archway, but we could have a lovely nice office in the city if we were to do similar to other organisations and have variable interest rates, early payment penalties, setup fees, compulsory insurances. But the people I would be doing that to would be the members, and the members elect the board of directors who can appoint me and remove me. So that cooperative difference is absolutely the ownership of the business, means we can take a longer term view too. That ethical difference is about how do we help people, because it might be that I'm working now, I'm retiring at the end of this year. I've never been shy in retiring, but I'm retiring from paid employment at the end of this year. Already got my voluntary jobs lined up, and then we have at that point I'm going to have a fixed income. So it's going to be difficult. And I'm an asset rich, cash poor. So I'm going to have a much smaller fixed income, but I own my home, and if I need a new kitchen, I'm going to need help with it. Or it might be an unemployed mum on an estate who needs a £200 loan for a second-hand fridge. It's not profitable for the credit union to lend them. However, if that person has not got access to a fridge, they have to buy milk daily from the corner shop rather than the big shop. Or if they can't fix their car, they can't do a big shop at the out-of-town supermarket. They're paying more for the things. And actually, it's cost-effective to take out a small loan to purchase that thing. Now, the credit union would lose money on that loan. However, it might be that, again, to come to use you as an example, John needs to borrow money for a car, and he wants to borrow £15,000. He will pay less than he would on a car finance deal. He will be saving at the same time. And that money is then used to subsidise those small loans to people in direct poverty who wouldn't be able to access finance in other ways. And that's absolutely crucial, really. But it might well be that unemployed mum now, in 10 years' time, the kids have gone to school, they've retrained as a nurse, and they're in a solid income. And John's been sacked and is between jobs, or has had to stop work to care for his partner. Whatever that might be, that situation might turn where he is on very, very low income. The person who we did help previously is on a good income, borrows money for the car, and that sort of mutual self-help is that people's savings help each other out at the time. And the people helping people is just crucial to what we do, really. Next slide, there's just a joining link for yourselves. I'd be very keen. I know obviously all of you are in different organisations across Hackney dealing with the same sort of objectives that we're trying to do here, is to support people, to make sure that people have thinking carefully about money and dealing with the pressures of dealing with the finance in day-to-day life. The biggest way you can do that is actually joining, putting a little bit aside for Christmas, because that money will be used to help other people. But of course, longer term as well is that it's good to work with yourselves to make sure that your client groups, your residents, etc., are in a position to join the credit union, so they know it still exists. Because certainly in the failure of the old credit union, a lot of people think that they no longer have access to credit unions, and that's not true. I know I've seen a few questions popping up. I've finished, so I'll shut up.
Great, thanks, Martin. That was a roller coaster for me. I was rich and then sacked within one presentation.
Well, we realised how much you were costing a minute ago.
Well, exactly. Yeah, very good point. Great, thank you, Martin. I heard hands going up, but I can't see anything when I'm sharing my screen, so I don't know if people have got questions.
One of them was, how do people join online? Well, we have paper forms, so people can just post in a paper form. That's not a problem. We do have access to the office. The people who access our office, it's appointments only, tend to the people who can't read and write, or people who need the support in the support level. So it's but virtually, 99.9% is online. The rest is done by post.
Great, thanks, Martin. I was going to ask, actually, you mentioned it briefly, but could you just explain please put how to get the forms into the newsletter, please? Is the information on how to get the paper forms on the website, Martin?
Well, somebody just needs to ring us up. Ring us up, and we'll send you thing. Actually, if I'd known, I was over in Hackney the other day, and I saw the CAB. I could have brought you a bundle.
Okay. Well, I'll make sure I put the phone number. I'll make that clear in the newsletter. Yeah. I was just going to ask. Yeah, you mentioned it briefly, but could you just clarify the name of your organisation versus the union that no longer exists, just because people might not know the background and the confusion?
No, London Community Credit Union went into insolvency last week, the week before. It had been struggling for a number of years. It was desperate times, and they ran a number of cash offices that were very expensive, and they'd focused so entirely on low-income families that they'd forgotten to actually helping other people save money on loans is a way of avoiding debt, not just dealing with the problem. So they struggled for quite a while. It was made up of the old Tower Hamlets Credit Union. It took on the old remnants of the Hackney Credit Union and Newham Credit Union, but they really struggled for a number of years. It wasn't, I would say so now because I can, it wasn't very well run. That was London Community Credit Union. We are London Capital Credit Union. Right? So we have the same acronyms, and we've tried to avoid in the last 3 years, because we knew what was likely to happen to the other ones, is to get rid of, not use that acronym. But we're London Capital Credit Union. So the website is www.credit-union, hyphen like a minus sign, .coop. In the chat, I am going to put my direct email as well, my name and email address. So for anybody who wants forms or something, I can make sure that they get delivered over to you. We have a whole range of things like posters. We have internet materials that you can post on your websites with links, like videos about what is a credit union. As we know, videos tend to be a lot more accessible, particularly for people whose English is not perfect or is a second language. We can provide all of that material.
Brilliant. Thanks for clearing that up, Martin. Does anyone else have any other questions? No? Okay. Well, I'll be sharing the slides and Martin's contact and the phone number and a link to the website in the newsletter. So do look out for that, and bear in mind the possible confusion that some of your residents might have around the other credit union, if they remember. But thanks, Martin, for coming along. That was great. And do come along again if you ever want to drop into these meetings. It's great to have you here. Well, that's our main presentation for this session. But we usually open up the floor now to anyone who wants to ask a question or to promote something they're working on in their role, make a suggestion for a future meeting. Mal, did you want to come in at this point?
That'd be great, thanks.
Yeah, go for it.
So on the 27th of February, Queertopia is doing an event on celebrating activism and just as part of like LGBT plus History Month. It's going to be a great event. It's 6 to 8 at the Hackney Town Hall, and we've got like the Samba Sisters are going to be performing. We've got Adam Khan from Trans Pride. Councillor Carol Williams is going to be speaking. We have Cole from PEX Education. We've got a whole host of really cool people. So I'm happy to like maybe post, if that would be okay. We've got an Eventbrite up, if I could post that in the chat.
Yeah, go for it.
Yeah. And that, if anyone's interested, it's free. So you just need to register for a ticket. But it would be great if anyone wants to come along, and it will be really fun.
Great, nice one, thanks, Mel. I will include that in the newsletter if there's room. We've got quite a few links to include, but yeah, that sounds great. Does anyone else want to come in at this point? I've got something I want to plug, but I will let other people come in now if they have anything they want to promote or anything that you feel that we're not really covering in these sessions and you want me to go and find a speaker to talk about. Just, yeah, let me know now, or you can email me. Or if you want to present yourself, you're very welcome to present in these sessions. Always up for people coming and speaking. So does anyone want to come at this point before I plug my thing that I'm doing? No. Okay. So next week, I mentioned this last meeting, but for those of you who weren't here, so next week, myself and a couple of teams at the council, so the Revenues Service and I think Ross is coming from Here to Help, which used to be the Money Hub. We've been working with a consultant and about two or three voluntary sector partners to put together some training on council tax. So some of you will know Krista from Health Watch Hackney. She's often on these meetings. Juna from City and Hackney Carers and Fiona from CAB has been involved as well. And we've all been working together the last few months to talk about sort of support for residents with council tax. And one of the things that we're doing as part of that work is putting on a sort of a training session next Wednesday, which is in person at HCVS near Dawson Junction, and it's for people in the voluntary sector to really learn about how council tax works, what the council processes are, how they can set up payment plans, how to pay your bills, sort of the basics really of how all those processes work. But also we're going to have sort of people there from the Revenue Service whose whole job is to be, you know, an expert on council tax. So if there's things that you've always found confusing or that you find residents don't really understand, then it's a really good opportunity to be in the same room as those people and, you know, and get those questions answered. And we're also going to be sort of looking at, what are the main things that come up for you and residents with regards to council tax and how the council can sort of work with the voluntary sector to improve that support. So it's a good opportunity, I think, to come along and be in person and sort of learn, but also share with us, you know, what it's like for you being on the other end of the process, if you see what I mean. So there's not many spaces left, but if you do want to come along, there's a Google form which I will put in the chat and in the newsletter, and you are very welcome to come along. So Basia, do you want to come in?
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, great. Well, this is one of my pet topics, but I've been emailing several people, and it was suggested that I share a very simple tip, much wider than normally, and it's about level access for anybody with mobility problems, wheelchair, power chair, walking aid, even just slightly wobbly on their feet. Before you tell someone that a building is accessible, You stand outside with both feet flat on the floor, and then you shuffle forward. The rule is you cannot lift your foot. If your foot encounters any bump at all, then some people with mobility difficulties are going to be excluded. I must confess that the reason why I'm very interested in this topic is my power chair is very old and dying, and my insurance company will not let me go anything higher than 2 centimeters, because then if something happens to my chair, my insurance is invalidated. So I'm very hot on, if I see a metal sill, I hope you all know what a metal sill is, that I can't go over it. And if there's a dip the other side, then I can go in, I'll fall down the dip, and then I can't get out again. So anybody in any building, please check the shuffle test. I mean, the best building in Hackney is obviously the Hackney Service Centre. No problems. You can wheel in and out of there, go to any office, no problem at all. I'm not going to name all the other buildings that think they are accessible, but actually do have problems. I hope that helps people. Thank you.
Thanks, Betty. Yeah, that's really really good for you to share that. And yeah, I'd be interested to see if that sort of thing is in. I don't know, but I'd be interested to see if that sort of thing is in the council's, guidance for grant funding and its design of its own buildings. But thank you. And if there's anything you wanted me to include,
I'm sorry, I do have to come back into you
Yeah.
and say the council has given awards to completely inaccessible buildings.
Okay.
They've given awards to buildings where the intercom is out of reach. So
Right.
you can't even ring the bell to say, I'd like to come in. It might be
Yeah.
accessible, but if I can't reach the intercom, I can't come in. There's
Yeah.
something called Part M of the Building Regulations, Section 21. But if you're a developer and you don't want to observe the rules, instead of using Hackney's own planning building inspectors, you call in a private building inspection firm. They are just as registered, but then they don't keep the rules. Makes my life very difficult. I mean, for example, the new blood testing unit for Homerton Hospital, right, is not accessible. So I can't go and have my blood tested at Homerton Hospital because I can't get in the building. And, I know, and Hackney Council has just built a new GP surgery, which is not compliant for access. They're trying to fix it. And I recently did an access audit for a community centre, and they are going to try and fix some of the problems. But Hackney Council funded it. So I'm very, very unhappy that this problem isn't being addressed properly, despite all the fantastic work that Hackney Council has done over the years. So there you go.
No, I'm not surprised. Not surprised at all that you're upset about it, because that's not acceptable at all. Do you feel like are you in touch with the right people at the council? Do you feel? I'm just trying to think if I can.
Well, I was
help
part
you.
of the Access for Everyone project run by Rachel Salmon, one
Yeah.
of your colleagues.
Yeah.
That went. I don't know that particularly went anywhere.
Right.
I've been part of all sorts of consultations, but then you get people in Hackney who have a little bit of spare money and go, "Oh, great, let's beautify Shoreditch Park." Do you know what they've done in Shoreditch Park? They have put cobblestones at every single entrance, so I can no longer take my grandchildren to Shoreditch Park. And you believe me, they're not happy.
No.
And why would you spend the money building cobblestones? They've replaced public pavements in several areas of Hackney around new developments, and the pavement is entirely cobblestones. So's the town hall, by the way. But yes, I'm in touch with all the right people, but the message doesn't seem to be getting there.
Yeah, I'm really sorry to hear that, because that's rubbish. I wish I could suggest something more practical to help you. But I'm glad that you are in touch with the right people, and I just hope that the right people within the council hear that message as well, because it's, especially when it's completely avoidable errors or avoidable things that are just not that are inconsiderate. that's sort of probably doubly frustrating. But thank you for sharing all of that, Batia. And if there's things you would like me to include in the newsletter, like guidance and the shuffle test and things like that, then do send them my way. I think Joycelyn, you've asked about an issue with a resident who's got a problem with council tax. If you want to email me, Joycelyn, you're still on the call. If you email me, I will get back to you and see if I can link you up with the right people. And you're obviously very welcome to come to the council tax training next week if you're free, next Wednesday, 10 till 3, I think. And you could perhaps ask the people in the room there, because we're going to be talking about, as I said, sort of regular issues that come up. So yeah, just email me the query, Joycelyn, and I'll look into it. Does anyone else have anything they want to share before we wrap up? No? Okay. Well, thanks everyone for coming along, and thank you, Martin, for presenting. Really great stuff. And yeah, if you want anything included in the newsletter, etc., just let me know. But if I don't see you before next time, hopefully see you in a couple of weeks. Thanks, everyone.
Thank you,
Bye-bye.
everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks, John.
Bye.
This evening.